I know.
Hey, welcome back to the TTB. Welcome back to the TTB Math podcast. You are here with Avraham Perton, a master at all things in your distillery, in your winery, in your brewery. Not a master at creating, but a master analyst. He will let you know where you're bleeding money, where you are making money, and where you just need to close down. All things considered, here's Avram. Kick it off. Let's hear some fantastic tidbits before we all take a drink.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Ben Torello. I really appreciate being on the show, and it's amazing. You always are hosting the show. Lots of people I've seen on the show, and now it's finally my turn. I feel very appreciated and can't express in words how great it is to be here. I've since I joined on with TTB Math, I'm really impressed in everything that's going on, and I've been connecting to a lot of distillers, a lot of wineries, and it's amazing. They all have like a different flavor, a different crowd, a different culture that they are serving, and that they are kind of like tailoring their product to. With all that said, everyone has to definitely keep to their culture, keep to who their clientele are, and make sure that they're making them happy. But there's a lot going on that we can all share in common in regards to where we can protect ourselves, where we can make sure to cut our spending so that we're not throwing money down the drain, or as you always say it, throwing spend grain down the drain, and that it really can make a whole big difference when you got that analyst approach and business mind involved in your company. I feel like it's almost like a when back in the classroom. In the classroom, it was like every single kid is different. Every single kid is coming from a different place, different home, different feel and culture of their home. But ultimately, there's a certain style and method that works, that makes it, streamlines it, makes sure that you get the most for your buck. Parents are paying lots of tuition, and they want to get the best deal on it. And you're showing them that even with everything that's different about the kid, this is how we get it done, and we get it done smoothly, and the process goes well. Same thing over here with distillers. There's so much that's in common, even if everyone has, well, I want it like this, and I want it like that, and and whether it's the shape of the bottle, or whether it's the flavor, or where you're getting all your grain or your corn from, there's a lot in common that really that an analyst like myself can really give forth lots of information, lots of important data on what's going well and where you can really not cut corners in an illegal way, but in a totally legal way, how we can really make things work much better, and you can have much more money in your pocket.
So just to understand one thing, you mentioned the classroom. Most of us did not get through the classroom. It's a little traumatic thinking about the classroom. Are you going to come in and give us some more math equations? Because that's something, obviously, we don't want to hear. Or is it just end results?
That's all the software. What?
So how do you present it? What are you doing? You're looking at the software. What exactly do you do? Because we, as distillers, most of us do not. We like our craft. We like creating our whiskey, our hopped whiskey. If you, in case you want to know that, we take beer, we distill it. We really don't know numbers. Walk through exactly what you're going to do, and how it keeps it so easy that every distillery, every brewery, every winery could benefit from. And just remember, we're not very class friendly. So some good stories might help, and some humor.
Right. So yeah, we're not taking anyone over the leg with a wooden paddle. We're not spanking anybody. Everyone is doing the best they can, and as long as you guys upload your numbers and exactly what you're doing to the detail, then I'll have a better idea of what's going on. And as I can't tell what a kid's thinking, I can't tell what's going on in your brain, but if you are able to just write down everything, keep track of it, or use the software, exactly, use the software and keep track of it. Then by looking at the trends, looking at what's going up, what's going down, I'll be able to give some business mindset intelligence to the whole picture of where exactly we can maybe make better use of things, and what we're doing, we can maybe even double our productivity, and make things go faster, quicker, and better quality with what we have.
So I'll ask you a few questions that maybe if I would have had known of you, well, now we have the software, but years back when I was distilling, you may have caught. So a lot of us order when we need a product. Okay, so say I make a whiskey, a mash, and it goes well. I distill it, I age it, and then I'm like, okay, I need 500 glass bottles, and I realize that it's holiday season, so I ordered the glass, and I didn't realize that it's holiday season, glass will be more expensive. Is this something you would have picked up on, or would have you noticed a pattern?
Yeah, this is something common all the time, and what we're very good at is also figuring it out, but then also presenting it to you in a way that's clear, that you'll totally it'll resonate with you, and you'll totally understand that you won't have this problem again. A lot of times you spend 30% more when you're doing it last minute and rushed, unlike if you would be planning ahead. And that's a great example that there have been companies that I've assessed and seen this, that during these seasons and it's much busier, the ordering or even the returning, and so therefore to plan ahead for that, to make certain either limitations on what they can return, if that's the case, so that we don't lose too much on that end, or in regards to us ordering, that we make sure to order ahead, because we see this is when most people are ordering. If we order it way in advance, glass not going to go bad. Just order the glass way earlier, and doesn't take so much to store it. You have tons of storage anyways, so you'll order the glass early and you'll have that. Now, how do we see all that? Because we know from last year's charts, last year's information that you put in, we saw that there was a spike in your timeline of a lot more orders coming in this time. So yeah, you're waking up to that 3 weeks before and saying, oh my gosh, right, I'm going to be getting lots of orders now. That wouldn't have happened if you had already analyzed all the information. And it's not just like this happens once a year. It happens a few times during the year, that there are a lot more orders, that people are making a lot more parties, whether it be in the summer when it gets late, and it gets dark late at night, and so therefore people are up later just hanging around, talking with their friends, and they want to have a drink. Or if it's the different seasons of the sports, and when you guys are going to a game or watching a game, getting together on a Sunday, and there are going to be a lot more sales in these times, or specific game seasons. That's what I really feel like drives a lot, besides for the holiday season. And so this can all be foretold, and that is even a regular person, they can see, oh, there's a spike here, there's a spike there, but they don't know how to but then there's an extra level of the intelligence of it, of how to read that. How do you explain, why is there that spike happening? And that's exactly where I come in, and I'm able to see, okay, it's happening because of this, and therefore you can already almost be like a prophet and say that this is going to happen again next season the same exact way.
So this is very interesting, because from a distiller's perspective, I can share the excitement that comes holiday season. Someone calls in an order, he wants another 1,000, 2,000 bottles. You don't have the glass, you don't have the material, as opposed to focusing on what you're best at, making the whiskey, making sure execution on the floor. The adrenaline is now kicking in to find the glass at a product. And I'm going to tell you firsthand experience that I myself did not know 375 ml is so popular because you think it's a one-off and an analyst will have picked up. The next year came holiday season, and again, order for 375 milliliter bottles, 1,000 bottles. I have to go to Trico Braun or Savor Glass. I go through 5, 6 companies. I call them up. They obviously feel the desperation in your voice. They mark up the price more. Then you have to pay for expedited shipping. They
Right.
want you to pick it up. They don't want to deliver it to your house. So that all these things. I mean, this is numbers, and this I'm just sharing with this for other distillers that you think you're waiting to last minute to make a purchase because you don't want to have to pay interest, and if you break it down afterwards, you might not even be turning a profit when you should have been making 100% profit because you have how many extra costs? The extra markup because it's so late. The delivery is an extra markup. You spent the whole day going to pick up the glass. If I would have known, if Avraham would have read through it before, I would have had it on my floor 3 days in advance or a month in advance delivered. It would have been delivered to me. I wouldn't have spent the day in the holiday season chasing. It would have been cheaper. I would have been calm. My wife would have been happy that I was calm, relaxed. The product would have been delivered timely fashion, and I would have made a very healthy profit. So this is something I really lost out on. And this, I'm sure, has happened multiple times, but this one case really stands out in my mind. The stress and excitement at the same time.
I would say you're not even unique in this realm. This happens across the board in all industries. Anytime that they want to throw a party or something like that, you're going to have the exact same problem. Besides for just some regular revenue and different seasonal increase of sales and demand of purchases. I would say just one more. Another area where an analyst comes in very handy is if it also helps identify who is the biggest class of customers of people that are interested in your drink. They're going to be able to then be able to help you connect to those people, be able to either plan where you can have shared space, where you can use your drink much more during their events, that you will be able to buy in to their space, that they're going to only use you to corner that market with them. But it helps you identify when is the biggest time of purchases and revenue, who exactly is the people that are going to be using you the most or who are using you the most, and be able to connect with them much better in a much more real way, in a much more personalized way, because it's not just like clients out there, because you've helped identify who they are, when they are, and it can be multiple people like that, and that just will drive sales much higher.
Very interesting. So I have a tourist trap, right? Now I hate to refer to it as a tourist trap, but I have a presentation where people come in, tour the distillery, take pictures, because you don't want to. And this is the way you're putting down is very. It should catch every distiller's eye, every winery's eye, every brewery's eye. We cannot necessarily let the potential client come into the back and experience it, experience making the alcohol. And getting an hour-long chat because of insurance purposes. So instead, what we do is we have a little front shop, and we'll set up little, if you want barrels or different things, a small little experience within the legal, insurance needs. It took, and I was at this New York Distillers Guild this year, and they were discussing on how come no tourists are coming. And from what you're saying, you probably have picked up when I picked up, well, you have nothing interesting here for them to come to because you can't take them in the back. So you have to come up with a solution. Again, that's huge revenue. Am I understanding that?
It's
Yeah. You can pick up on many things when you look
I hear
at,
you loud and clear. I hear you loud and clear. It's definitely happens that like you plan really well and then nobody shows up, and then you have to figure out what exactly happened. Where were the crowds, and what exactly could I do better next time? And so an analyst can try to assess and also look at other events that are similar and see what worked, what didn't work, what could be the reason why this doesn't work, and therefore give more direction in where exactly we can make it work better next time, instead of just like guessing in the dark. That's what nobody wants to do, because then maybe it'll never happen that we'll be successful in that. So that's it's a big gain that an analyst will be able to help you with, by seeing where it's worked in other places, what's worked for other companies. And that's the business side of this analyst that I am. It's not just like a data analyst that just like looks at data, but it's coming with a business mindset. The one thing that stuck out while you were saying this is it should have really worked well, because some of what they always show in the business is when you sell your story and you bring people in to like what exactly is going on, they feel more connected because they feel like they're connected and they're part of you, and then they feel a real commitment almost to like, we are part of this, we need to make it work, and that's going to be a bigger buy-in, which sounds amazing for you. At the same time, you have to figure out what things did people really, what of the experience, this is what surveys do all the time, what part of the experience really resonated with people, and maybe also what drinks resonate with people, and then you can be able to increase your focus on that area.
So that's very interesting that you said that, the drinks, because I want to get into that. For a time, they were saying gin, 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 gin. And there were some distillers that said, look, gin is not going to be the future for us, at least the small distillers, because gin is really a cheap product. Gin is just all different spices in a clear spirit and mixed. Now there's could be 17 different ways of doing it. You can see London gin, Genever gin, this gin, that gin, but it's really a cheap product like a vodka. And for us to struggle, for us to create a gin and have the markup that we need as a small distillery to survive is going to be like when we produce vodka. So vodka, you can't charge more than $30 for a bottle, a 750 milliliter bottle of vodka. It's not really doable. There are a lot that try it and you'll maybe get $40, but higher than that you have to have a huge marketing budget, huge, and that none of us have. And so the gin fad, if I could call it a fad, came in the US and it was going at 30% growth. And I refuse to do it, and a lot of other artists refuse to do it. And if you look, you go into most liquor shops, there's not a large gin section. And the writing was there that this was actually a correct assumption, because we had nothing more to go on than our guesswork from vodka. Is this something you would have been able to assist with and help countless distillers avoid this fiasco of, locked up cash?
Right. It's definitely a more complicated area what you're bringing up here, because it's not just like simply looking at this drink, but you have to compare it to other drinks, and also to go back in like almost like the history of it in the locale that you are, and see what really has worked, what really hasn't worked, and the patterns that you see when there's like a certain like spike and a certain like push for a certain thing. How long does that last? How worth it, as you were explaining in our case, is it to invest in it for how long? Like how long is it going to be? So this is definitely something where you can't just use like a quick glancery look. You can't even use maybe like a basic analyst that's like just like entry level or medium level. We need much more of like a mastery in this realm. Very good.
So that's very interesting that you mentioned what you just said about the gin. You have to have much more of understanding of the market, because I have a relative that sells guns, and he always tells me a gun's a gun. And in sales are going up. Guns, people come into a gun shop and they just want to buy a gun. That's it. So if you don't have a Wesson, you have a different, whatever. They just want to buy a gun. But in this market, it's very nuanced. I also had it very hard to believe that someone that comes into a liquor shop that wants a premium bourbon is going to also want a premium gin. Even tequila, the growth, we all think tequila was overnight. It started growing in the 70s. It took 50 years to become a tequila that people were willing to pay more than $40, $50 a bottle, and now in the thousands. So
Yep.
you pointed that out, and that's I didn't even notice it. I said subconsciously. I didn't even notice that point. That I actually kind of asked the liquor shops about their own my local liquor shops because the
Yeah.
global and the United States gin is going, and it could very well be because the liquor shop in Manhattan that they sell to and might sell 90% of the liquor shops might be in cities. They could all be selling gin like there's no tomorrow, but upstate New York where I am and where I sell, gin is just non-existent.
Didn't catch on.
Yeah, I think it went nowhere.
Oh, wow. Sad story.
Happy I didn't make.
Right.
That's
I hear you. And
about
and really just like taste, each part of the country is different. So you really need to go do some good research and analyzation throughout the country, really, before you try to enter a certain market in a different part of the country. Just like you're saying within the state, so too for sure other states. What exactly do those people like? When do they drink it? Where do they drink it? With who do they drink it? And what do they like drinking? It's all going to be very different. And before you try entering your product into that market, you really need to do a lot of good analyzation of, is it going to work? Are the people going to be accepting of it? And maybe what I need to do to boost the interest and all the hype around it before I try really marketing it and getting it out there.
very, very fascinating.
Your drinks.
I went through
Your,
two. So mine is only New Jersey. For that reason, I don't have a way of pushing it elsewhere, out of New Jersey. But I'm gonna throw at you a curveball right now. Right? Are you ready?
yeah,
So,
okay, fine.
if I was
Let's
a
try it.
if,
Not the first
if I
time.
was a Canadian distiller, if I was a Canadian distiller, is there room to capitalize on the anti-Trump sentiment? What? Yeah, whatever. The sentiment and the not
Sentiment.
sediment for my whiskey. Sentiment. I'm thinking sediment. I'm like,
Right.
no, that's the bottom of the
It's all
barrel.
the same.
So, in the
That's
U.S.
what we
and
feel like. We feel like the
export,
bottom of the barrel in that.
Yep. Is there a way for me to capitalize and export my Canadian whiskey to the United States? And the same for Europe. Is there now? Forget it. There is a huge markup in taxes now thanks to Trump. But is that something an analyst would be able to help with? American companies shipping, exporting, all that because we discuss states.
Yeah. Um, I was trying to figure out if you meant the other way around for an American company to export to Canada.
No, they don't want us. That's
They don't want. They don't
pretty
want.
blanket.
Because some do. It really depends. Like you should know. I lived in different parts of Canada, and some of them they like America. Some of them don't like America. Some of them like visiting America and bringing back stuff from America. And you can just go to the duty free store just as you're crossing over, and you'll see tons of it. But Canada to America, it's a good question. I could definitely
I
look
guess
into
you
that, and I'll get back to you. But
I guess you just. I just.
what?
I guess you just proved, as a distiller, to me, never make an assumption based on the hype on LinkedIn and TikTok. That's why you need an analyst quietly analyzing, because I never thought there would be a market for American product in Canada.
Look, I guess a general rule is you can never go by like the hype and like what people say so much, because the biggest voices are the ones that have something to complain about. People that are happy, they don't complain. They're happy, they're comfortable, they're not going to say much. Then you just have to look at the actual hard, raw data. You have to look at the data and where the sales are, because the people that make the biggest hype are usually the minority. The people that are not happy, the people that are the minority. And then that's where actually is a good point. A data analyst or business analyst can really disprove those big voices and say, you're just the minority. Look at my data that's going to support that you really have no claim out of this, and you're just going and fueling it from your own frustration and your own dislike, but no one else is with you. And you just make it sound like everyone's with you.
You know, one of the big parts of this industry that fascinates me is the people that, and this is something I just thought of because of you, the people that are boycotting wine or whatever for health reasons. And if you
Yeah.
go back on their, on their Twitter now X handle or whatever to when they were younger, you would see that they never liked wine to begin with. So you think, oh my God, there's a whole celebrity boycott. They never drank. they were more into alternatives, gummies or whatever. So this is a very interesting. I never thought of that point that you're saying. It's a loud voice.
And now you reminded me of something that I've been wanting to share for a long time. Is this whole thing about like the sales of beer and everything is going down, because it's not that people don't like beer. People actually like it a lot, but just it's been now associated with like a certain type of people, and therefore they don't want to be associated and seen like that. And that's where hard seltzers have actually gotten a push, because hard seltzer is also alcohol. How much alcohol does beer have, and how much alcohol does hard seltzers have? Not really so different in the amounts, but hard seltzer just looks like a nice can, and it doesn't really have that same association of like beer, and therefore it looks much more classy, or it looks like anyone can just like be holding a can of seltzer, and therefore it gets much better reviews in the optics, but not that really like people like don't like the old stuff. They do like the old stuff. It's almost like they're stuck in a society.
Whoa, you just blew the lid off. So you're explaining right now why ready to drink drinks have become such a fad in the past 3, maybe even 3 to 7 years.
Not so long.
Hard seltzers, drinks, pre-made martinis, whatever.
And even wines that are coming in cans now.
Same thing. Because,
Right.
I mean, from my perspective, wine in a can is like drinking cardboard, because wine, cans, metal, and alcohol don't go together.
And you
But
taste
I
it.
guess, yeah, I guess there's a different way of making a sale than making a delicious product, and that's knowing who your client base is.
Right. Imagine if some distillery would start selling their whiskey or whatever in a can.
There
I don't-
is, and and I never understood it, and you're explaining it right now. There's a distillery that has this funky metal can, and
Okay.
it looks like a gas canister to me, or the paint thinner, paint remover cans.
Yeah.
And as a distillers, we're horrified. But then I would go to all different places, and they had it, and it was so frustrating, so frustrating.
Cans are in.
You literally felt betrayed, but the data says otherwise. I guess.
Well, yeah. If from the optics, people think it's like cool holding a can. I mean, it depends, obviously, though, what your setting is. If you're at a ball game versus if you're at like a nice restaurant, that won't pass. But it's getting there. But it really depends where you want your clientele to be drinking it, where they'll be drinking it.
Wow, that's another important point. That you have to know the location. I'm still getting over what I just learned. Because
That's why you need an analyst. There's so many factors. It's so hard to keep track of it all. People get headaches from all this.
But in a distiller's mind, in our mind, this is counterintuitive. But that's why, because you're emotional. Your wife, whoever it was, sat and picked out your glass-shaped bottle, and you're proud of it, and it's on the shelves. And then you come into a store, and let's say you got a premium price of $45, and you paid a lot for the glass, and you have to put a label on, and the label's manually put on, and all this adds up. And then you come
Right?
in and a can is just it's printed on the can. You order them in bulk from these mass metal producers, and they're moving, they're selling. I mean, you're coming to check up on your bottles, and you're celebrating when a bottle sells, and you come in every day, another case is gone, and you're like, but who would buy something in a can?
Because a can is smaller. It's one time. It's cheaper and therefore it's easierly for people to just excuse buying it, and it's just like that instant gratification type of thing that people have, and fits well inside of your car. Like okay, maybe you shouldn't be drinking in the car. Sorry, I forgot about that. But people like hanging out and doing their all their TikTok like videos in the car now. That's what I'm thinking about. But also, I think what was it that I was thinking that you reminded me of? Right, your whole like what you've been showing about is like the story and like from the like where the grain comes from, that for all these small distilleries, that now you have to advertise in the bottle, and how like the uniqueness of the bottle to be able to counteract this whole can industry.
I wouldn't even try to counteract it because this is very interesting. It's all about real estate on the bottle. And those metal cans have a lot of real estate space. Glass doesn't. I wouldn't, I mean, this is just a whole new look at it.
Okay, I want to see what you do with this data. I want to see what you do with this now.
You're going to turn the whole industry on its head. All of a sudden, there's going to be a run on the cans. It might be cheaper to stay with the glass.
Depends how early you get in, how far in advance, right? That's what we were saying before. You plan.
Yeah. I mean, the beer. Just let's shift over to beer because it's much more common in cans. You go into a
Yes.
lot of beer breweries, and you'll see these start the canning operations. I'm just wondering. I was always wondering how efficient it was price wise, but are you saying that it's not about the price, but about the sales here? The cost is trade because running your own can operation could be expensive until you hit volume. But are you saying that it's more about the sales than the cost? They need to do it for sales. People are just not into the glass.
They are. I would say like that. Every single sale is both shows well, and it's like easy advertising, that people see it around, they see it, it calls out to them much more. It kind of also has to do with that people see the can in your hand, and they don't see particularly the bottle. They don't see exactly where it comes from. It's just more showy when you have the can. So if you can get that can out there, and then it's like instant advertising. Besides for the fact that it's moving on the shelf, people notice this thing. So it's like silent advertising that is much better for them. And even if, right, as you said, it might take a little more and to get going, but then it like quickly picks up the pace.
This is.
Did I
beyond
answer what you were
fascinating.
asking?
Yes, but this is like beyond fascinating. Seeing an entire industry and understanding why they have behind. See, you go into a beer brewery, and I toured distilleries, breweries, and wineries.
Smelly.
It's
They're all
delicious.
smelly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and for some reason, like you'll see in the brewery, you'll see the bottles, you'll see and they're not proud of that bottler, the glass. I'm sorry, the metal canner. That's always behind the wall somewhere.
Right.
It's
True.
it's not part of the craft. But again, that's only when you're looking at as someone that is enthusiastic about the craft that it hurts to see, or someone that's drinking from the tap in the brewery. So I'm just thinking of a few in particular right now. When you walk in, you go get a beer on tap. You'll drink it from tap. You want to see it as a brewery. You don't want to see it as a can place where you go ahead, an operation, a manufacturing plant. Then when you
Right.
leave,
Fresh is always better.
but it's also the vibes. But when you leave,
Yeah.
you're taking a 4-pack or a 6-pack home. So it's so interesting, the psychology behind the setup.
Good point. Yeah, I didn't think of that either, but you're right. It definitely people can switch so quickly in that this associates with this and this associates with that. When you're there, you want the real experience. At home, like what works best.
Unbelievable. And do you see a higher
Now they
sales
say,
value for the cans? Because you can't reclose them. There's no saving a can, even for 5 minutes.
yeah, that is a good point. Um, I I think that the difference of a can though is that like I'm thinking of like even soda cans because everyone can relate to this and it's true for everything. The cans are louder. They have like a certain like expression that they share and they give off when you first like open that up and there's that pop and like the fizz coming out, which is all by beers and drinks that are what's it called the
Carbonated.
carbonated, exactly, that you don't have anything else. And then like the foam by beer itself, that itself is like giving off sound. Like I think of like back to my childhood with like the what's it called, that popped rice, what's that famous one, rice not Krispies but the cereal, snap crackle and
Yeah.
pop. Right. Like you want to like put your ear down to it and like listen to it, and like it makes that sound and everything. It's alive, and that you also have by beers or everything like that. So even if you might not be able to save it and you have to drink it in that one thing, or you're gonna throw away. But people don't really care. They get all like into it and like they're connected that it just carries away with it, and it's the sound. It's alive. It's the whole. It's much more of an experience with a can than by a glass bottle as much. And a glass bottle but carbonated also has it, but then but we distillers we don't have any of that by wine, so we have to do it in a whole different way and get it in a whole different way.
So this is something that I actually you touched, in one of my market researches was touched upon, the fact that the vinyl market, the records market in the United States and globally is surging, and you would think that with all our devices, our phones, our computers, who would buy a vinyl? And it's not about the vinyl; it's about the experience. You gotta go pick a vinyl, set it down in the record player, make sure the needle's correct, and play. And what you're describing with the can is very much that. It's a chill on your hands. It's a of the bottle crack open and drinking. Um,
Right.
that that is something very fascinating. That it's people are craving it seemingly like an experience.
Yeah. You have to get a whole different like experience and advertise it like that when you come to different by whiskeys and other drinks.
That is such a.
It doesn't speak for itself in that way.
Would you say that making sure your story is prominent would be part of this?
Your story is prominent, meaning what?
It should be prominently. Essentially, my understanding is we're switching over. We're walking away from the era of drinking to the era of experience. You want
For
to
sure.
experience it. They don't want to
People
drink
want
it.
right.
So to that end, it's probably more important than ever to get your story out there, so people know the story.
Yeah. We are in a generation of affluence. There are so many people that have so much affluence, and it's so easy to come by. Therefore, the actual pleasures, like almost like dies the pleasure. But if you feel like you're part of something bigger, you feel like then that makes you feel bigger when you're part of something bigger. So if you can get a really good story there, and people connect with your story, and it feels so great. So when they have a piece of that, which is your drink, they feel like they're connecting to this much bigger thing. And when they have it with more people, then there's more people connecting to it. It just makes it like just crazy, like overload in just how big they feel in just that experience. So it's much more the experience than the pleasure. Everyone is into like instant pleasure and satisfaction and gratification, but really they have a certain feeling that they want to be part of something. And when you make that story like really like stand out, then it's a for sure winner. It happens all the time.
What you're saying right now actually is another phenomenon in the distilling industry. Um, a lot of the smaller distillers cannot afford a labeler, or they're using unique bottles. This is what I did myself. You need to do it by hand, put on the labels. So they have what's called the bottle party night. Okay, where you invite friends over, or you put up a sign for people to come over and put labels on the bottle. Maybe offer a small discount, but or maybe not even. It's just for a good time. Have a dinner there. So you estimate the cost is maybe $200, and you can have 10 people there for 4 or 5 hours, and everyone has
Just
a good
fun.
time. And I never understood it. And then they'll buy. Not only that, it costs them money because they'll walk out with whiskey they would have never purchased, but they bought a case.
Right.
And
Yeah, finish up. Yeah, you're saying perfect.
so this is all about the experience, and part of the story. You're literally bringing in them into the story. They're probably going home, and as a distiller, I'm like, hey, free work, but I missed it. And now I'm understanding that I'm giving them the gift. I mean, obviously they're helping me. So guys, if you're watching, come back. Obviously, they're helping me, but I'm giving them a gift of going home, of a pride. They're telling friends. There's a marketing aspect of it, but there's a satisfaction that's much greater than just a drink.
Yeah, I would just throw in a tip there for all those people that are doing these labeling parties, that just like you see on pieces of artwork, it'll say this is like number 14 out of 250. So you feel like you have something really a prize because there are only a certain amount of these out there, and then you're getting one of those, and it's very limited. So when you have those bottling parties, since you have the manpower, you should have people marking off how many bottles there are, what number bottle this is out of there, because then you can drive up sales, both in just the fact that people see limited edition, there's only this many, and also in like which number they're getting. That could also make like a certain like idea in people's head that you're planting of like this is really special, and that when people take it out to share with others at an event and they show this is like the number one bottle out of this many, this is the number two bottle, that really means something to them, and then people will be more appreciative. They'll feel more connected to you, that you're sharing with them this limited edition number whatever bottle that you're bringing out to the table. That means so much more to them, and you can make much more impactful connections, meetings, whatever it is with people. So
Wow,
go ahead and do that.
That is really cool. I have also seen, and this is more for beer breweries, they have lotteries, or not lotteries, you obviously have to have emails and stuff. Pick a next season beer, or pick our next creation. What's your take on it? I was always thinking, what a cumbersome way of making a new product.
It's not just them. Starbucks does it. I've seen Starbucks do it with like picking the next seasonal drink, like what exactly you want, and getting people interested, because even if their drink isn't picked, but they're gonna want to see, well, what was picked? Like, what is this drink? Because they thought they had a really good idea, a really good product that they were selling to them, but now people got bought into the company because people are gonna say like they had a piece of like interest, like a stock in the company, because they had a say in the company. The company took what I said, and then what did they come out with? And they're gonna then want to buy it and assess it, and if they're really impressed with it, they'll then go and advertise it themselves, like, because they'll have already shared half the story of like, oh, there was this thing happening, and I gave in this idea, and then when it comes out, they'll say, oh, this is what I got, and they'll say either how good it was, hopefully it was good, not that it was a lousy pick on the company, but that will also generate a lot of just hype and talk about it. You want people talking about your company. You want people talking about your products.
Well,
That itself is good for it.
this is beyond. You're like on the if I could say you're like on the other side of the counter, because as a distiller, as a beer
Yeah.
brewer, as in a brewery, you're much more hyper focused on what
Oh
you
my, for
enjoy
sure.
creating. And over here, it's like, well, you can have fun, and you can make much bigger sales. And once you have a bigger sales, you have more money to create. I mean, the most frustrating experience is having a dream that turns to a nightmare. Okay, so there's a lot of distillers. You have your dream product you want to make, and then you never realize that there's no market for it yet, and then you're stuck with a lot of tied up capital.
So much.
And if you would have just done it the other way, have someone like Avraham look at you and say, look, there's no room on the market for this just yet. You need a marketing budget for it, or you need a crowd for it, or reading your area. Correct me when I'm wrong over here. Reading your geographics, okay? Your geographics is a vodka geographics. If you're going to make bourbon, you need a further reach. You'll get there, but first you got to get the vodka, the closest stops. You would have saved yourself tremendous amount of pain and stress.
Yeah. Right. I would even say it's like for like in comparison for Brangen, for those people that know what that is or any other type, you need to know who's coming to the party to know what to serve to them if they're gonna really enjoy it and then they're gonna want to keep coming back. So definitely the geographics plays a big part in all this. Also, it's like as you were saying, hyper focus. It's a problem in every company. Like, how do you decide? You're the CEO of the company when to delegate, how to delegate, what to give to other people. So here you have your ideas. You feel like you can do it the best, but then ultimately you need people to have buy-in to your company, and therefore if you get the buy-in from the very beginning with before you even made the product, you're already more than halfway there on selling the product.
That is really cool. That what a, you know, once we're on the topic, once you win, I've never seen anyone do this. What do you think about saying, "Hey, the product's been created. Would you like to reserve some?" And obviously, they have to pay some type of down payment, like Tesla. Except we'll deliver.
Right, but you get your name on the bottle as this is eventually going to run out. It's not going to be forever with your name on it. You want to get your family to come in and buy a share. That's classic. Always what happens at dinners. If you know any of these like big dinners and they're honoring someone, they're going to honor somebody that they know has a lot of connections and not just like some nobody that nobody ever heard of, but is a great person. They're going to want someone
like me, never been honored. Now I understand. Okay.
But if you have somebody that has a lot of good connections, a lot of family, then they know that they're getting this person, and maybe he can bring on like 4 people as guests, but then everybody else, they're going to be paying a ticket to be there, and they're going to be bringing so much more revenue. So that's a great point that when you get somebody in and they win, but now you have to make sure that you frame it, that they see it as this is limited. This is not going to last forever. I better make the most of it now. And share it with my friends, and that will automatically generate that they're going to share it, and people are going to want to be part of that, even if not the big story of the company and the distillery, but this person, I want with that person.
I mean, this is beyond insane, because as a distillery, you're always thinking, "Hey, I'm taking on the big guys." Okay, so give you a little bit of the noise. You're driving down the highway and you see an advertisement. It's always October, November, December for Johnny Walker Blue Label. And all you're thinking is, that's going to be me. Or they're killing my clientele. And really what you're saying is, it shouldn't even register. Because get to know your neighborhood, focus on your neighborhood. They're looking at the guys on the 95, okay? The guys on the 95 are likely driving down to Florida. They're not coming into wherever you are, Toms River, or wherever in New Jersey, to buy in the 3 stores that carry your product. But you got to get the advertisement right in front of the liquor shop, because those are your locals. Those are the people
Yes,
who should know who you are.
we right, and you see this in big as well when you have like a soft drink or a beer or any of these distillers that they are the proud sponsor of this team or the proud sponsor of this game, because then everyone's gonna want to be drinking that drink, and they'll feel like that's the culture, that's what you drink here. And if you're drinking something else, like, how could you be doing that? You're like a traitor. They are the sponsor of this game. You're not gonna want to drink their drink. So that's why even colleges that are not as big, but they college sports, college football, it's still big, and they'll team up with a certain distiller. I just saw this with a Texas A&M that they joined up with a certain distiller, and now they can advertise as they are the official drink of that, and anyone that's an alumni of that college and the like, they're going to want to drink that drink because they are the team's drink.
So this is actually very interesting because remember we can't advertise to youth. You know, it's always fun when you get a phone call from the local little league. Do you want to sponsor a game? It's not gonna work, guys. I could just see on the jersey, Moonshiners. You know, let's name a team Moonshiners. Okay, not gonna fly. But to your point, going with a college and university makes a lot of sense.
They're not so big, but it's the local college university. That's great.
And they've been softened up already to your product. But
Yeah.
sponsor if you're a Texas distillery, I don't believe there's a point in you sponsoring a New York team.
Like what? What are you doing? Like, where are you coming from?
Correct.
Texas is very proud of Texas. I lived in Texas once upon a time. I lived there for 9 years. I know how it is. Yep.
You gotta have the vibes in order to work.
I, I guess it really helps because I've lived in a lot of places that are very big in their distilleries. I've lived in Memphis. I've lived in Tennessee. I've lived in Texas, in Houston. I've lived in Wisconsin. That's also big, more breweries of beer. And now I live in Georgia, which is like like the South. You feel it. I wish I counted how many times you said this is very interesting, because there are so many topics that we came across, and it's amazing how eye-opening you revealed to me what we have been sharing is.
Yes, and this is why distillers should be reaching out to you, because this is something I can't say it enough, because it's like bringing it down. You're an artist. You're a craftsman. You're proud of it. Have you ever realized that artists that make paintings don't get paid well? That's because they can't assess the value of their painting. That's why you need you need on your team. If you don't want to get ripped off, an analyst, someone that can say, hey, this is where you should go, this is how you should do it. The same way every proper artist has a gallery, not that's selling their product, but is on their team. You need someone on your team. Otherwise, you just wind up completely, stranded. That's what I'm learning.
You nailed it on the head, because as a child, I was an artist, and I remember even in the summer going to like not art school, but like an art group, and I was very interested in art. And then like I never have time for art because it just doesn't pay. But as a analyst, you're always making visualizations and making beautiful visualizations, clear visualizations, going back to that idea of the schoolroom, of how to teach it to each and every student in a clear way, giving over that information very clearly that they can understand it, that they're not like lost and over their head and like, I hate school, but rather in a very clear way, and using that artist like creative mind of mine. I saw this is a great field to go in to be an asset for these companies, and making those analyzations, business ideas to give over, and then putting it into art in the visualizations, in the charts, and whatever platform I'm going to use to then show them and make it like resonate with them how important it is to have the data.
Yes, but Avram, just to finish off, what I'm learning more and more from this conversation is that you're picking up on lost opportunity, a legitimate like lost opportunity, and the artist could create, but he doesn't. He's just creating, and you're actually going to help the artist create in a much more efficient and powerful way. You're not like the. If to say it right, I hope I don't insult anyone. But you're essential if they want to function, because otherwise you're throwing darts in the air. You're running out of cash capital.
Right.
And my normal way of thinking would have been that you're another expense. But what I'm seeing over here is you're a tremendous asset. I mean, making whiskey without grain is it's the same way as selling whiskey without Avram. I mean, it doesn't work.
And we don't need them to do very much. They just need to show up, and then we're going to do the rest for them. I'm gonna walk them through it. They just need to show up and give me what they got. Tell me their story.
Yes. Okay. Wow, Avram. Thank you. What an eye-opening what should I say, talk today
Session.
about how much value can be. It's like you can have, just for example, someone come and say, why don't you try putting in another whiskey still? Why don't you try to, and this is every single day, why don't you try to advertise here, try to advertise here, advertise, and you're like, well, that's an additional $50,000, $60,000, and I don't even know what the results or anything is, and they don't really, they don't, and you're like, no, we're not looking to spend. There's so much material here to juice. We're running this anyways. Do like this and do like that. You're just squeezing the fruit, and that is what's so shocking and wow to me.
Okay, I hope they take this to heart and they really they hit me up on it.
Yes, I hope so too. All right, thank you so much, Avraham. Stay with us.
Be well. As we say, shalom. Peace out.